Hey, it's Pete again, and at the risk of overextending myself in March, after promising last year I wasn't going to do a ton of events, there's one new one that I just cannot resist, even though I've already committed to trying to do something for March of the Mammoths. But of course, with March of the Mammoths, you only have to start the mega book, the chunker, the 800 plus page book. You only have to start it in March per the rules. Um, and I'm still reading Conan. I'm still reading Robert Howard every month, one volume of the Del Rey series. But I've got to do this one too. And I discovered this event. I heard about this event through Derek Green's channel, one of my new favorite channels, new to me. And it is called, let me get the, there's a, he's not one of the hosts, but there are four hosts for this event called March on the Rails about train books, books about trains. The hosts are Deb at Raynor Reads Stuff, and then Alan Reads, and then Ghost Readers in the Sky, and Infinite Text. So I haven't watched. I've watched Deb's video and I've watched Derek's video. I'll try to get to the others soon, but I'll put all the names in the comments, of course. The idea is to read anything to do with railways and trains, fiction, nonfiction, short stories, travelogues, memoirs, and I have a few possibilities and some that I'd like to just suggest to people who might want to do it too. It is a great subject to write about and to read about. So let me pull up photos here. Um, First, I'm going to talk about a couple books that I didn't get that many. Oh, okay, good. This will be fairly short. A horror book that really came to mind by Stefan Grabinski. It's called The Motion Demon. At least this is the version I read. I don't have this anymore because this was a physical book. This is not the cover of the current ebook, which has now been retranslated and is called, in the version I saw at least, the the Demon of Motion. So they had to fancy it up a bit. This very strange horror writer from Eastern Europe. I discovered through reading uh, Thomas Ligotti's essays on horror writers that he wanted to promote. This was written in 1919. The subtitle here is the landmark 1919 short story collection of macabre trains, maverick railway men, and mad misanthropes. I truly believe the standout story, far above the rest in here, is the one called The Motion Demon. I won't discuss it too much. It's a very short story. It's very creepy and weird. In the era he was writing, obviously, trains were a new technology, fairly new technology, especially in his part of the world. Um, the idea of going fast. I remember once hearing that when railway came into England, people, scientists, experts, were saying they were never going to work because human beings could not withstand the pressure of movement over 20 miles an hour. I don't know how they came up with 20 miles an hour. I guess just faster than a horse could go or something. But anyway, I think that's been disproven. Check me out. Check me on that. Um, Another book I just really just wanted an excuse to talk about maybe is the third Tom Ripley book by Patricia Highsmith, uh, Ripley's Game, and I like this old cover. This is not the way it's usually presented. Obviously, they're trying to play up sort of the espionage element of the book there, which is different than many of her books. It has two key scenes, one on a subway and then another on a high speed train in Germany. I love this book. And I love the first film that was made. There was a film made a few years ago with John Malkovich as Ripley, as Tom Ripley, that came out after The Talented Mr. Ripley with Matt Damon, which is not my favorite adaptation. It's okay, but it's kind of makes things kind of dumbs things down from Patricia Highsmith's really kind of more subtle version. But there's a movie of this from the. Did I do a picture of it? Thought it. Oh yeah, this movie had a big effect on me when it came out. The American Friend with Dennis Hopper, Bruno Ganz. I believe this is the first movie I saw with Bruno Ganz in it, who was kind of the Brando of 70s and 80s German cinema. I think this is a Wim Wenders film. Yeah. Uh, there's cool stuff in here. What I found interesting, and I learned about a lot about writing and storytelling from this, because this is a very faithful plot adaptation of Ripley's Game. However, if you can see Dennis Hopper here, he's wearing a cowboy hat. He's wearing a lot of times he's wearing like coveralls. He is nothing like the Tom Ripley from the books. Uh, Although he does the same thing that Tom Ripley does to this character. Uh, and what I found very interesting about this movie was how you can change the protagonist and keep the plot. So Tom Ripley is the main character in Ripley's Game. We see what he does to this character, whose name I don't remember. In the book, I mean, in the uh, movie, we see this guy as the protagonist. We see how he is affected by Ripley's Game. Whereas in the John Malkovich movie and the book Ripley's Game, you see it. You see Tom Ripley doing his typical sociopathic things to an innocent victim. So I would recommend. It's just a movie I like very much. I think the book has enough train stuff in it. It just comes to mind when I think of trains, even though it's not the most train heavy book in the world, but it has trains in pivotal parts. Of course, Patricia Highsmith's first book was called Strangers on a Train, which is made into a Hitchcock movie, which really only has a train in the sort of inciting incident where these two people meet on a train. So don't know how that would count, but she lived in Europe. She was American, but she lived in Europe almost all her adult life, almost all of her adult writing life, and so trains, being in Europe at that time, uh, make a big. I don't know. I'm talking about movies so much. Maybe I just got movies on the mind. So I don't know if I'll rewatch or read those. I might read Ripley's Game again. It is kind of fun to read the Ripley books out of order if you've read them before, because especially the first three. I think Ripley's Game is my favorite. Most people, they just read the town of Mr. Ripley and stop there. The last couple books, I believe there's five altogether, aren't as strong as the first three. I think there's a little gap in publishing there, but I think Ripley's Game is a very clever plot. When you find out what's behind it, it's pretty shocking, even for a person like Tom Ripley, who's pretty much has no scruples at all. Uh, his reasons for doing what he does in the book and the movie are pretty audacious. It's a pretty anyway. And I want to see this movie. This John Franken. How do you say his name? John Frankenheimer film called The Train, which is a World War II movie starring Burt Lancaster. They're trying to the Allies are trying to stop this train that's been appropriated by the Nazis in France. I've always wanted to see that, so maybe I'll watch that. Now let's get back to books. So there's three books. These are all more movie related for some. I don't know why I did this, but this is a book I'm probably gonna. This is probably the one I will read. It's called The Wheel Spins by Ethel Lina White. I got this on Kindle for 99 cents, so I had to snap that up. It's from the British Library of Crime Classics. A lot of people know it or might recognize the title of the movie. It was adapted into a Hitchcock movie. Again, another Hitchcock train movie, The Lady Vanishes, which is one of my very favorite Hitchcock, one of my very favorite movies. It's early, so people might have trouble with it because of the sound quality and the staginess of a movie made in 1936. You know, they only invented the boom mic about, I think, 2 years before, or 32, when talkies had already taken over. They didn't have the sound worked out. If you've seen Singing in the Rain or Babylon, and the absurd ways they tried to do sound in the early days of cinema. I remember a movie I saw with Ginger Rogers. Ginger Rogers, one of the most beautiful, dynamic actors of the era. They had her sitting in this chair in this movie, this lounge chair, sitting next to a big coffee table with flowers. And I just knew, and she didn't move the whole scene, like the whole 10-minute scene. And this was an early movie, like a 32 or 33, probably 32 or 31. Uh, and I realized watching it, it's like, oh, they've got a microphone in that big bouquet of flowers, and they don't want to, and she can't move around because it'll mess up the sound. And, eventually they came up with other strategies like the boom mic, which you see in movies now, where they're just a guy holds the mic over who's ever supposed to talk and that kind of thing. Um, so the Lady Vanishes is, it's the versions you find have like a hissy soundtrack and that, but it is a fantastic mystery. It is like right up there with um, Murder on the Orient Express, that kind of thing. So I want to see how the book compares. I think this has been republished as The Lady Vanishes, but for cynical reasons. But it involves a young woman who meets an older woman on the train, and then uh, sees her sees her abducted or something like that, and then but nobody else on the train notices her. They made a Jodie Foster version a couple years ago, or a few years ago, but set it on a plane, and it's just a terrific story, a terrific mystery. No one on the train except this one woman who witnesses the disappearance has ever seen this older woman who supposedly disappeared, and so of course everybody tells her gaslighting kind of movie, like you don't know what's going on or whatever. Um, and then the mystery is revealed. Here's another one. This one I got on Kindle Unlimited. So these are the two I might read. I might read that, whatever it's called, The Wheel Spins, and then I'm probably going to read. I don't think I've read this. I've read a ton of Graham Greene, at least I did in the past. This one is called Stamboul Train. Reissued in the United States as Orient Express. So I wonder why they picked that name to retitle it. But anyway, that really excited me. I'd be surprised if I read this before. I think I'd remember it, but I at one time I read all the Graham Greene I could get, and right now, since I looked these up a couple of days ago, I actually don't remember anything about what this is about. I think, from what I recall, it's a sort of character study of a lot of different people on this train headed towards through Turkey and whatnot. So that's what I have for trains. I hope I get to some of these. Maybe some of you will participate in the event. I think it's a terrific idea. The other videos I've watched have entirely different suggestions. So if you need ideas, I'll put links to all the hosts. You can check out their channels and see if you might want to join this one. And I'll talk to you guys soon.